commander of Post 75, and I'm the most recent district commander. I just got sworn in 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
So, thank y'all for coming. All of these people that you see over here are all part of Post 75 with the exception of Mr. Chan. He's my new incoming district historian, but he's also a member of Post 39 in Williamsburg. But he came over. All these ladies are on auxiliary, and all the guys are members of the post. My chaplain over there is Ralph Jordan, is our first vice. They've been working real hard to make this happen for you guys. So if you got any complaints about your food, keep them to yourself. So we will get started serving you guys after George. I guess you and Laura got a little something y'all want to do. So carry on.
Perfect. Good.
Chaplain, we got a customer.
Let all the customers in.
Tell her right in.
Yeah.
Are we missing anybody out there?
No, there's someone.
Oh, they're bringing some stuff.
Somebody's bringing in
Chris,
merchandise.
can you help?
A little snake.
He looks loaded up.
What'd you put those in?
All right, we're good? Well, I want to thank everybody for being here, but especially the post here. This is our 6th year of coming to the post and being hosted here, and I mean, really feel like family. Honestly, you make us feel so I mean, we've got some new runners and new crew, you know, that have joined us because of our special trip this time. But coming through Gloucester and stopping here and being welcomed every year is just really something that we look forward to. And I know that you guys do too. It's just really, really important to us that you know, as we are traveling, that at the end of the day, especially a long, hard day, you know, we're able to come to a place that with those that understand what our mission is and what we're doing, and that actually get it. And you guys have known that as we have been doing the Virginia Run for the Fallen through the state. This is always our first day of running, you know, for Virginia through Arlington. It's one of our longest days as we start in Fort Story and come all the way up through to Saluda. And so some familiar faces on our team, but mostly it's a fresh team, and those that have come all the way from Arizona to be a part of this. Is this what congratulations? You know, Arizona and California and other places that have joined us. So what they started there and ran all the way here. So that's a pretty big deal. And today happened to be one of our longest. Come on in. Come on in, have a seat. Very informal. Anybody else out there, sir? And this happened to be our longest, our most markers of our entire trip. And so everyone here pretty much knows. I don't have to explain about honor. Remember, thank you for having the flags up. You know, that's a really important welcome for us because, you know, that's really what we're doing. We're honoring those that have given their lives in military history of our country. But as you know, with the Honor and Sacrifice flag, we are honoring our fallen police and fire as well. So that's all very important. So I'm not going to go into a long diatribe of the organization. You guys understand it and get it. But just a little bit to kind of give you some information as to really what this journey has been about. And it hasn't been from starting from Fort Story and going to Arlington over 4 days. We started in California 118 days ago. You know, over 4 months ago, we started running from Fort Irwin, California. And we have been running through 19 states, almost 6,000 miles. We're going to get close to 6,000 miles. And up to today at the post, I don't know what your mile marker was today, but I'm sure that those that were out there heard a number well over 5,000. 5,400 probably and something, right? I don't know who knows that for sure.
For the day, 5,430.
Yeah, 5,430 we ran, that was our last month of the day. And so, what we did was, as an organization, as you know, we've been doing these state runs, and we usually are running for about 400 service members from the state of Virginia, right? So, the Virginia Run for the Fallen, there's some shirts out there, the Virginia Run for the Fallen, and you guys all know this. We gathered all the names of those from Virginia, and we put them on a trail for 4 days to Arlington Cemetery, 400 names. So we thought, well, if we could do this in the state, there's a lot of families out there whose names aren't being remembered because we're not doing it in their states. And we thought, well, what if we gathered the name of every single fallen service member that we could possibly gather? And we did it during the War on Terror. So we started with the USS Cole in 2000, October 12, 2000. And we began to gather names, working with the Department of Defense and some other agencies. And we gathered over the last, we've been working on this for 3 years, almost 3 years. We gathered over that time every service member who gave their life while serving. It didn't matter how they died. They could have died in battle or they could have died at home in their sleep. But while they were serving or as a result of serving, and we had even included those that died from those hidden wounds of post-traumatic stress. So we compiled what we believe to be the largest database of American fallen service members in the last 18 years, the largest database in the world. We probably have a larger database than even the Department of Defense. And why is that? Because they're not accounting for deaths after serving. And they don't account in public for many of the training and things that happen that aren't battle. And we have found out that they've even left off battle casualties. So there's a lot of names that were not being recognized. So we took those names, 20,000, we're up to 20,060 names right now. And what we did was we looked at commonality, and that commonality became their date of death. We thought, well, let's see what happens if we look at how many dates of death that 20,000 accounted for. And they accounted for a little over 5,000. So 5,000 unique days is when we lost these 20,000 heroes. And we, as an organization, we said, well, let's take those 5,000 plus dates and let's make them miles. And let's put them on a trail across America. And let's run for every single one of them. And that's exactly what we did. So there's a lot of logistics to that. I can't even go into all the organization it took to make that happen. But how we placed them was by the date of death initially. So October 12, 2000 became our first mile. And then the next day that we lost a service member became our next mile. And then the next day we lost a service member. So we didn't have any miles that weren't dates of death. So they really weren't miles, were they? They were a day that we lost a service member. And we had to have at least one, or it wouldn't be a marker. And some days we have as many as 56, I think was our largest day of death. And I'll bet you can guess what day that was. It was 9/11, right? But we, even yesterday, ran for, I believe, there was a helicopter, there were many helicopter crashes that have gone down with multiple casualties. And so every time we stopped, if whoever died in the world, didn't matter if they were in the same incident or not, whoever died in the world, if they died on that day, then we would honor them at that mile. Because, some people were thinking, well, we're just going to have a mile for each person. No, we gave them a collective, unified place. And that did one thing really important for us. They put families together. Where some families didn't even know each other. And it gave an opportunity for families to have some extra connection. You know, Gold Star families are always looking for ways of bonding and new ways of healing and just extra things that will, you know, hold on, keep their memories alive and be able to share. And one commonality to share is a date of death. That's a huge one. And so we have brought families together in a way that we really didn't imagine. So every day, every mile, we had a unique date of death. We tried to average 50 miles a day. That was kind of our goal. So that way we knew that 5,000 miles were going to be around 100 days. So we had 5,000 plus miles. And when we finish, we're going to end up with 121 days of running. Wow. 121 days, almost 6,000 miles. And we will have called out the names of every one of those men and women who gave their lives in the last 18 years. And those of you who are out here and heard what we do at a marker, I don't really have to explain, but we stop reverently, respectfully. We call out the names of each one of those loved ones. We plant a set of flags in the ground for each one of those loved ones, and then we hand salute them or hand over our heart in honor of those names, and then we move on to the next marker, and the next marker, and the next marker until we're done for that day. Today, we ran 82 markers, 82 dates of death. It was the largest day that we have run in the last 118 days. So you have the privilege, if I may say that, of knowing that we stopped here in Gloucester and we ran the most hero dates of death of any in the entire tribute across America at this moment. Now, we won't have run for the most heroes in those dates of death because we have run in one day, in a 30-day period, run for almost 400 casualties within 30 days. Today, we're going to read 194 names. 194 casualties happened during those 81 dates of death. And that's one of the things that we do. So I really want you to understand the magnitude of and the breadth of where we came from and what's happening right now. This, even though we've been here 5 years in a row, now 6, this is the most historic moment that we have had in, and that you have had, you know, in our history of doing this run. And so it's a really, really important evening, you know, for us, and I hope for you. And as we go away tonight and on our way, I don't want you to just think, well, we just did another run for the fallen day one. You know, what you did was, you did day 118, honoring 19,000 heroes to this very moment. And the team that has traveled across America from California, you know, is the team that's here that we're able to be honored, you know, in your house. And it's so, so very important to us. As I say, this is the first, actually the very first post that we have come to that was not, that wasn't, I want to say singly, how do I even say this? It's the first post we've come to that we've been here before. I'll put it that way. Right? It's the first one that we've come to and posted up with that. And that's huge because it's no longer kind of like trying to tell you all what we do again, because you know, and you've been a part of that. And so you are family and have been family. So first time we've connected with family since we left California. So another, you know, privilege for us. So one of the things that we do, as you know, every night is that we always have read the names of those that we ran for that day. You know, very important. And although we're not running for Virginians, some Virginians, but what we're running for are dates of death. And we started with 2000, and we are now running in the year 2017. So everyone we ran for today died within a year of present day. And that's really fresh, you know, for those loved ones that have come out and spent time with us. A difficult time. And I didn't really expect a lot of families to be out at this time. I mean, at this juncture of our run, because it is so new to so many. But I want to show you something. Do we have our flag? We do. Thank you. Yeah, I want you to stand right there. Wow. I want to show you. This is an honor and remember flag that we have carried since April 7th in Fort Irwin, California. And you can see from back here, I've never looked at it this far away. You can't really see all of what's there, but you can see a lot of black writing, right? What that is, what that contains are the names of fallen service members written on by the families who traveled across the country to be on the side of the road wherever we were, from California to Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma. They came from Virginia, they came from Pennsylvania, from Florida. They traveled. It didn't matter the distance to them. It did not matter the distance. It did not matter the expense. It did not matter how many hours they had to be on the road. But one thing they knew, that at a certain moment in time, on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere, we were going to call their loved one's name out loud. And by Jiminy Cricket, they were going to be there. And that flag is covered with the number of individual families, one-time signature of those that made it out to the side of the road to listen to us call their loved one's name out for 30 seconds. 30 seconds. This is how much that meant to those families. Right. And do those families really have cell phones that ring with quirky rings? Silence your cell phones, everybody. Do those families need a reminder that they lost their loved one? Do you think even one of those families need to be reminded that they lost their loved one? Heck no. They already know it, right? So why would they be out there? Why would they even travel? Because they're carrying their loss around their necks and their hearts, tattooed to their bodies. No. Why they're out there is because someone else thought it was important enough to gather their names and to take a moment and call them out loud. And darned if they didn't want to hear that. Right? That's how important it is to these families. That remembrance, not their own remembrance, but the remembrance of a nation. And that's exactly why we do this as an organization. Because we do not want any individual service member or their families ever forgotten. And that's why we undertook this journey, because we can't have a run in every state, at least not yet, to honor those heroes individually. We thought, well, maybe we could at least do it once and make sure we named every single one. And I hope when we reach Arlington Cemetery on August the 5th, that we have named every single hero reverently and respectfully, right up to the last moment of the last service member who gave their life when we enter that hallowed grounds in Arlington. And that is our hope, to make this the most comprehensive tribute that has ever been conceived and ever been executed and ever attempted. Thank you. And so tonight we're going to reread those names. Thank you, Dan. I don't know how many names are on there, hundreds of names probably. But I know that our crew saw every single one of them and gave them a hug and took a picture and loved on them and had the journey of a lifetime in honoring every single one of them. And so back to the reading of the names. So we have 194 names that we ran for today, over 81 markers. and we're going to reread them. So if everybody does silence their cell phones, I'm going to ask Kristen to come up and her group of runners and readers. We like for the runners to read the names because they were the ones that put the miles in today. And it looks like we've got we're going to have them all read. You want to evaluate that? So I don't know, guys, how you want to do this. How about just down the wall there on the side? Because it looks like everybody wants to participate. There you go. You want to read some? Just, yeah, it's up to you guys. Good. Read the dates that they encompass, someone.
About a third of a page.
Today we ran for 194 names for the dates of death from August 30th, 2017 to November 14th, 2017. Private First Class, Michael Filomeno Giannazio, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Emil Rivera Lopez, United States Army. Sergeant Horton Albert Carroll, United States Army. Sergeant Kyle Stephen Fisk, United States Army. Airman First Class Brandon Luis Marquez, United States Air Force. Airman Brooke Reland Newton, United States Navy. Command Sergeant Major Noel Solon Foster, United States Army. Lieutenant Colonel Joseph William Wegman Jr., United States Army. Private Second Class, as you were, Petty Officer Second Class Daniel Stephen Lape, United States Navy. Senior Airman Alberto Antonio Merida, United States Air Force. Sergeant Jacob M. Armga, United States Army National Guard. Staff Sergeant Charles Henry Spice, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Garrett Michael Swift, United States Army. Private First Class Amber Marie Johnson, United States Army. Sergeant David Luis Cavanaugh, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Jean R. Latortu Ortiz, United States Army.
Lieutenant Colonel Eric Ernest Schultz, United States Air Force. Petty Officer First Class Shannon Lee Davis, United States Navy. Airman Apprentice Curtis Aaron Grady, United States Navy. Petty Officer Third Class Jonathan Luis Zuniga, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Joshua Robert Lane, United States Army. Sergeant Ryan Allen Estridge, United States Army. First Lieutenant William Christopher Rockers, United States Air Force. Sergeant Jesse G. Labonte, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant David Lamar Copland, United States Air Force. Major Matthew David Gaylor, United States Marine Corps.
Private First Class, Bryce Anthony Kramer. United States Army, Sergeant First Class Christopher Paul Dulles, Jr. United States Army. Petty Officer Third Class Austin Wesley McQuaid, United States Navy. Lieutenant Colonel Sally Rowe MacDonald, United States Army. Tech Sergeant and Ricciardo Rios, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Sean Samuel DeVoe, United States Army.
Staff Sergeant Alexander Paul Delita, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Ryan David Hausner, United States Army. Specialist Van Lamont Miles, United States Army. Sergeant Major Louis Alberto Billingslea, United States Army. Sergeant William Joseph Clemens, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Susan K. Martin, United States Army. Sergeant Sean James Ross McIntosh, United States Army. Senior Airman James Richard Frost, United States Air Force. First Lieutenant Blake Thomas Wookman, United States Air Force. Specialist Robert Leo Gagnon Jr., United States Air Force. Army. Corporal Jennifer Nicole Kipibita, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Wayne Justin Atkins, United States Army.
Captain Tina Laurel Frierson, United States Air Force. Chief Petty Officer Nicholas Clark Perkins, United States Navy. Major Michael Angelo Mosley, United States Air Force. Petty Officer First Class Marco A. Wagner, United States Navy. Specialist Janoy Dayan Thompson, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Lumunga Mayoba Oben, United States Army. Specialist Mason Jonathan Rios, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Eugene Max Prosser, United States Army. Senior Airman Seth Daniel Friedel, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Joshua Russell Lawrence, United States Marine Corps. Airman John Valentine Sitzman, United States Navy. Specialist Rahendra Kashyap Bhakta, United States Army. Airman Christopher Carrillos Gillibard, United States Air Force. Petty Officer First Class Matthew Gary Jensen, United States Navy. Petty Officer First Class Jason Manuel Rodriguez, United States Navy. Chief Petty Officer Christian John Walk, United States Navy. Specialist Chi Raymond Wise, United States Army.
Petty Officer Petty Officer Third Class Kevin Anthony Hutchinson, U.S. Navy. Petty Officer First Class Maria Mikhail Kissinger, U.S. Navy. Sergeant First Class William Dustin Beerby, U.S. Army. Petty Officer Second Class Destin Drew Frank, U.S. Navy. Master Sergeant Jason Eric Crawford, U.S. Air Force. Corporal Tyler Michael Armbruster, U.S. Marine Corps. Private First Class Miriam Isabel Liu, U.S. Marine Corps. Private First Class, as you were. Senior Petty Officer Michael Robert Headings, U.S. Navy. Private Second Class Emilio Tristan Roman, U.S. Army. Second Lieutenant Dominic Cedric Roy Sr., U.S. Army.
Master Sergeant Owen Craig Rosenquist, United States Army. Sergeant Joshua Stewart Pendleton, United States Army. Specialist Ruth Kimberly Dickerson, United States Army. Special First Class, as you were. Sergeant First Class Lewis H. Trogler, the 5th, United States Army. Commander Seth A. Stone, United States Navy. Special First Class Alexander M. Misledon, United States Army.
Second Lieutenant Drew Anthony Hobbs, United States Army National Guard. Petty Officer Third Class Christopher Louis Roybal, United States Navy. Senior Airman Jason Dean John Rowe, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Patrick David Moose, United States Air Force. Lieutenant Junior Grade Wallace Eugene Birch, United States Navy. Lieutenant Patrick Lawrence Ruth, United States Navy. Sergeant Michael James Jarzen, United States Army. Lance Corporal Alexander Rodriguez, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Ortuno Luis Herrera, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant First Class Jeremiah W. Johnson, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Brian C. Black, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Dustin M. Wright, United States Army. Sergeant Law David T. Johnson, United States Army.
Chief Warrant Officer 4, Derek Anthony Walker, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Adeline Mercedes Giovanni, United States Army. Lieutenant Corporal Barrett Brandon Aquilson, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Michael John United States Army. Private First Class Timothy Joseph Ashcraft, United States Army. Private Ethan McKay Schrader, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Michael Wayne Wolf, United States Army. Master Sergeant Kevin Patrick Johnson, United States Army. Tech Sergeant Curtis Jared Johnson, in the United States Air Force Reserve. Sergeant First Class Augusto Pinheiro, United States Army. Staff Sergeant, Benjamin Thomas Clark, United States Army. Staff Sergeant James Ira McClivery, United States Army. Special Sergeant Roland Ross Carey, United States Army. Lieutenant Lance Corporal William Clifford Mayo, United States Marine Corps. Warrant Officer 1, Chadwick Demon George, United States Army.
Corporal Christian P.K. Smith, United States Marine Corps Reserve. Staff Sergeant Sylvester Leon Cook, Jr., United States Army. Master Sergeant Justin Jr. Betts, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Brian Allen Mink, United States Air Force. Airman First Class Colin Patrick Chelik, United States Air Force. Petty Officer Second Class Kyle Stephen Quick, United States Navy. Sergeant First Class Jamie Travis Boone, United States Army. Specialist Angel Losandro Benitez Quinones, United States Army. Master Sergeant Alva Joe Gwynn, United States Army. Gunnery Sergeant Isidro Cervantes, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer First Class Brian Thomas Jarrell, United States Navy. Petty Officer Second Class Alan Ephraim Romesser, United States Navy. Specialist John Robert Hatfield, United States Army. Sergeant Presence K. Bissonette, United States Army. Tech Sergeant Nicholas Paul Cozy, United States Air Force. Seaman Tyler James Hinken, United States Navy.
Petty Officer Second Class Eduardo Nicholas Rosa, United States Navy. Chief Warrant Officer Third Class Richard Kevin Vigil, United States Navy. Specialist Bryce Andrew Scott Stephen Baker, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Maxim Nauminko, United States Air Force. Corporal Jaslyn Zarafa Walker, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Samir Chalice, United States Army. Private Caleb Mensa Payne, United States Army. Petty Officer Second Class Ty Lott Bell, United States Navy. Private Joshua Allen Domez, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Johnny Anthony White II, United States Army. Sergeant Luke Hampton Toomey, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Matthew Ryan Sharp, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Michael Anthony Zamora, United States Air Force. Sergeant Ryan Alton Curtis, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Mark Elliott Huff, United States Marine Corps. Private Jose Luis Miranda, United States Marine Corps. Senior Chief Petty Officer Michael Shane Cole, United States Navy. Sergeant First Class George Christie Bible III, United States Army.
Private Jamal Rashad Bryant, United States Army. PFC Samuel Sheldon Newcomb, United States Army. Sergeant William Michael Brown, World's Finest, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Second Class Joshua Dean Hartley, United States Navy. Specialist Sebastian Hernandez, United States Army. Sergeant Jeremiah David Ortiz, United States Army. Tech Sergeant Nathan Edward Wall, United States Air Force. Airman First Class Logan Paul Whelan, United States Air Force. Petty Officer First Class Christopher Troy Gordon, United States Navy. Sergeant Jua Tapio Palavarva, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Joshua Daniel Jones, United States Army. Senior Airman Michael David Lusk, United States Air Force. Airman First Class Nicholas James Schwab, United States Air Force. Gunnery Sergeant Bradley Allen Luden, World's Finest, United States Marine Corps. Chief Officer 2 Jacob M. Sims, United States Army. Sergeant John Victor Nerva, World's Finest, United States Marine Corps.
First Lieutenant Angela Kristen Bachman, United States Army. Specialist Andrew Lee Jeffcoat, United States Army. Chief Warrant Officer 3 Jacob Michael Sims, U.S. Army. Private First Class Daquin Terrell Foster, United States Army. Sergeant Nicholas Harold Newell, United States Marine Corps. Captain Owen Godfrey Thorpe III, United States Navy. Sergeant Jan Philip Kemen, United States Army. Specialist Sean Michael O'Connor, United States Army. Captain Patrick Warner Wilson, United States Army. Senior Airman Trevor Harrison Stenlin, United States Air Force. Midshipman Juan Ramon Jimenez, United States Navy. Petty Officer First Class Agvani A. Ushursev, United States Navy. Petty Officer Third Class Amanda Karis Simmons, United States Navy. Lance Corporal Brady Scott Morrow, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Third Class Colin Dwayne Thomas, United States Navy. Chief Craig William Wiley, United States Navy. Command Sergeant Major Scott Allen Bailey, United States Army. Sergeant Linda Jacqueline Hernandez, United States Army.
Sergeant First Class Stephen Baxter Cribben, United States Army. Petty Officer 2 Corey Andrew Bryan, United States Navy. Airman James Nakia Henderson Jr., United States Navy. Chief Petty Officer Jose Marquez Gonzalez, United States Navy. Sergeant First Class Richard Lewis Reich-Snyder Jr., United States Army. Master Sergeant Karen Sue Marshall, United States Air Force. Master Sergeant Daniel Rene Acosta, United States Air Force. Airman First Class Derek Jones Jr., United States Air Force. Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Michael Sherrick, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Daniel Ryan Sees, United States Air Force. Warrant Officer 2 Lee M. Smith, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Jason O'Shea Sonnefield, United States Army. Lieutenant Mark Allen Weiss, United States Navy. Tech Sergeant Donnie Villa, United States Air Force. Petty Officer 2 Kevin William Wright, United States Navy. Specialist Donnie Nguyen, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Houghton O. Brown, United States Army. Sergeant Jordan Blake Roberts, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Robert Allen Thornton Jr., United States Army. Staff Sergeant Maurice Nassar Harris, United States Army.
194 service members over 81 days of death. So within 81 days, we lost 194 service members. One of the things that we do when we're done with the reading of our names is we offer an opportunity for anyone who's with us in the room to call out loud the name of a loved one, a battle buddy, a friend, a neighbor. It makes no difference, and it makes, there's no generation that we can't honor. We truly want this to be the most comprehensive fallen veteran tribute. And as we've traveled over these 118 days, we've not only called out the names of those that we ran for, but hundreds upon hundreds across the nation who have been at end-of-day ceremonies have allowed us to honor their friends, their other family members, and so we do that no less tonight. If we did not read your loved one's name, whether it's during the War on Terror or any other time in our country's history, I'm just going to take a moment. I'm not going to take a lot of time. Just a moment, for someone to allow us to honor their individual. So I'm going to just go around the room, and I'll even start with my runners. If you have someone that you'd like to name, just raise your hand. I'll call on you. Yes.
Trooper Chad Jeremiah.
Thank you. Yes.
Command Sergeant Major Eric F. Cook and Sergeant Jonathan Parkman.
Ranger Sergeant.
Army.
Yes, sir.
Airman First Class Matthew Lee Ward, United States Air Force.
Anyone else, guys? Anyone here?
Earl Russell Baker, United States Navy.
Yes,
Captain Owen Ford, U.S. Navy.
Gunnery Sergeant Justin Robert Martoni, U.S. Marine Corps.
Yes, sir.
Ray Gannon, United States Marine Corps, and Matthew Lebowski, United States Army Air Force.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone at that far table? Yes, sir.
Captain Shane T. Adcock, United States Army.
Joshua E. Bredlaw, Specialist, United States Army.
Anyone over here? Yes, sir.
Corporal James Hall, United States Marine Corps.
Thank you, sir.
Sergeant First Class John Wallace Rooks, United States Army.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Sergeant Buford Sumner, Vietnam. Sergeant Paul Sumner, Vietnam. My husband got the subscription in Vietnam. Three brothers.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone around the corner? No one else? If we could just bow our heads for a moment of silence as we reflect on the names of those we read for and their families that they represent, the names that were just spoken, the names that were unspoken, and those names that we have yet to read on our completed journey to Arlington Cemetery. Amen. Amen. Thank you, everyone. Before you guys sit down just a minute and take up your seats, I just want to make sure that we do even though we read for different names across America, we don't always know who those families are when we gather at the end of the day. And I want to make sure that everyone here knows who our Gold Star families are and those that have sacrificed their loved ones for all of us. Those that didn't get to come home to be veterans, as many of you did. So with the Gold Star families in this room, please stand up and let us honor you for your sacrifice and your continued path. Thank you for being here. God bless you. Thank you. We do have a flag. That flag that we were showing you, if you have not signed that flag, we want to make sure that everyone does, every family does sign that flag. Because whether you were at your marker or not, you were still took the time to be where we were and allowed us to honor your loved one. So please do sign that before you leave. And there's a book too to make sure we have your information. Guys, go ahead. Thanks for reading.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Big